Hi everyone. Hey, this is Miss Nair again. I'm just trying to upload as many work that I did in ECU for you guys to just refer back whenever you want to, and maybe take some leads and start your assignment when you have to do the assignment. So here, this is something which ECU wanted us to pull up from our lesson plan, and based on the lesson plan we had to based on the uh, topic that we were doing, we had to create a lesson plan for our kids. So I decided that I will do the theory of plate tectonics, convection currents. We were asked to do the high school category, and so it's earth and environmental science. um, so I picked this was one of the choice that I could pick for science, and so I did that. And this is what it is. It's a theory-based lesson design template. And then this is the topic that I did, a theory on plate tectonics. So again, as you can see, it's for grade 9, and the subject and content area is earth and environmental science. Again, we have to go to NCSCOS standards, basically the science standards, and then pick that pick the topic. So here, explain how the rock cycle, plate tectonics, volcano, and earthquakes impact the lithosphere. That's what is the main core standard there, and it says EEN dot 2.2.1.1. So that is the number and the standard. Okay, so content on the fact that there are four main layers of the Earth's surface: the crust, the mantle, the inner core, and the outer core. We basically, because I know this, I've been a sixth grade science teacher. In the sixth grade unit, we just touched this topic, saying that these are the various layers of the Earth's crust. And then the kids come to know what the crust is, what is mantle, what is inner core, what is outer core, what are the properties of the inner core, what are the properties of the outer core, what is a mantle, what is a crust. Again, right? You get the point. The crust of the earth is separated into two different plates, so that thing also my sixth grade students. So this topic is touch based even in sixth grade, and then I think as I see here, earth and environmental, it's also been touched in the ninth grade too. So they go even more, little bit more detail in ninth grade when compared to sixth grade. So I did teach this concept, so it was more comfortable for me to do my lesson plan in this unit. um, So we talk about convection currents of magma moving the tectonic plates towards and against and away from each other. There are various mechanisms which are driven by the plastic flow of magma due to convection currents, and that was the standard that we had to work on. Okay, or for me, I had to work because I chose this. Now, academic language. So academic language was something which was something which is very vital. As a science teacher, we cannot just say pull up the chart. You use words comparison, things, those analytical academic language we had to implement in a daily language, so that the kids can compare and contrast. So that's one of the terms, like you compare and contrast, right? You create a Venn diagram to model or structure the elements. So these kind of academic language helps the kids to improve their understanding of what the assignment is looking for, what do you need for the assignment, and things like that. So academic language was something that was that any course asks us to go in depth, which is actually good. As a teacher, you should know the academic language to put forward to the kids. So that's one thing that was that was one of the parts that we had to concentrate on. Then explain how various mechanisms, mantle convection, ridge pushing, gravity pull, the, the drive of the movement of the lithospheric plates, all this had to be explained by using the academic language. So gathering info, annotating your text to understand the concepts in a more detailed way, grabbing as much awareness, or differentiating between two Venn diagrams and explaining the concept in an analytical way. So these things, the academic language was a very important and a huge thing, in any class that has, in any subject, in any subject that has the intensity or the power to make the kids understand. So basically, it's almost all the subjects, right? Then moving forward, we had to explain, illustrate mantle convention currents within the Earth structure. So again, here we had to explain how kids were able to understand. So if you see, I've written here, student number 12 stutters. So we were given different, we were asked to pick a few kids of different categories. So I picked 3 kids. I think we were given each, you could pick 3 kids. So if you see here, I've said, you can see student number 12, student number 2, student number 19. Instead of using their names, I have used their numbers. Like that was a random selection. It showed on the picture that 12, you can pick student number 12 through all the way to whatever number they had given. So I picked 12, 2, and 19 instead of their names. So now, based on what and how they are able to do the core thing. So we had to see how each kid having their own personal issues, like maybe they have let's say they are autistically challenged, they have some behavioral issues, they have some other things going on from the home front. We don't know. As soon as you click a student, the list of things that he or she is facing is been we can see that, and then based on that we need to remodel our lesson plan. So that was the activity that we are supposed to be doing. So here, if you see academic language function, student number 12 stutters and has an impact on his confidence due to stuttering. Asking him to use modeling clay of different colors to create hands-on model on the Earth's crust, which can be modeled as a real scenario, help him learn, and his creative skills will develop. So this thing, we tried to incorporate as much as possible, but I created a group, and my students did it using the group. Within the group, they took turns to create the various kinds of earth's crust using the modeling clay. Mm, so instead of each, I could not give it to each and every single kid, but we did it as group work. So that was very functional. It did go good because their understanding of using the modeling clay, and then those kids who wanted to have some time, just touching and expanding the modeling clay, they had fun with it. And then finally, they created their own earth's crust. So that was something which, would stick to them because it's actually a hands-on activity, right? That's what that thing, the student number 12 does not know how to express, and he is a hands-on person. So for him, the real life scenario of the Earth's crust, as well as what he is doing through the modeling clay, helps him to understand the concept of Earth's crust. That's that. Explain how various mechanisms, mantle convection, ridge push, gravity pull drives, movement of lithospheric plate. Now that is the thing that I have to talk about student number 2. Now student number 2 has been given this assignment. He has to explain what a mantle convection is, a ridge push, gravity pull. But then he has so many things connected to him, meaning that he might be having some other issues, problems we do not know. So student number 2, if given an assignment that can be completed within the school or a class period, this will help him take care of his siblings. So this student here has some issues, like he at school he can do whatever he can do, but once he's at home he cannot do anything else because he has other responsibilities that's going on at home. So for this reason, as a teacher, I need to differentiate his assignment. So what do? I take the assignment, I chuck it into smaller parts and ask him to, finish up certain assignments during a particular part of the time, and then maybe complete it during the enrichment time, and incorporate in such a way that he is able to finish his work, right? He's able to finish his work within the time frame that he has in the school system, because it says that the student has a lot of responsibilities when he goes back home, and he cannot finish any of his work at that point of time. The other thing is, the teacher can also have a work on lunch so that the student can finish the work during the lunch period, so that he doesn't have to take home his things, and then not able to finish his work at home because of other responsibilities. And then this child has some reading issues, and if he has reading issues, you can always give him audio songs, audio lessons, for him to listen, and because all you need is to understand the concepts, whether you're able to, and then you reproduce it, right? So listening is one of the very efficient ways, of kids under grabbing more and more knowledge, especially when it is a, audio cassette or something that is being plugged in into the ear, and they will have the ability to grab the knowledge more faster and have a visual thinking about it. So that's what I have seen. So that is something which is, my student to require. So basically here what we are doing is we were given three students to pick, and based on what their uh, what they want or what kind of help they want, we had to help them or remodify the assignments to their level. That's what it is. So again here, if you see, this is student number 19. Student number 19 is provided with both personal hygiene and school supplies. Schools like ours have school closet where students can borrow a uniform. Classroom supplies can be provided by the teacher with the help of the students to create a poster board to show the vocabulary and pictures. So now here there are some personal hygiene issues that the child is going through. So how do you resolve as a teacher, how are you stepping in and trying to help them resolve their problems, along with taking care that their academic things are also being considered, included into it. If there is somebody is bullying him, how do you step in and try to mitigate the situation? So that those kind of small things which generally happens in the classroom, that thing, how you as a teacher are trying to help the child out. That's the main core thing in these things. Then again, student number 12 likes to read so much that so he can research. So student number 12, if he or she wants to learn something, he's a person who researches a lot of things. So the more amount of reading books, the more amount of videos that you give him will always make him interested and lean towards grabbing more knowledge. So that's something which you can do as a teacher. So maybe now you can give him a book and ask him to take it home, read through the process and understand and return it back within a week. And you can also ask him to create models and things like that. So the people who like to write research, right, these kids might come up with very good ideas of how to research certain things. So the more you encourage, the more or the more you chunk and make it attuned to them, they'll always be able to finish their homework. So the main concept is to help them out as a teacher, either by chunking, either by reducing the time, and or if the child is not able to do it at home, try to incorporate it during the school period, etc. Now, it also asks, so since this is a project for teachers, it also asks what kind of materials did you use, what kind of instruments did you use, was it online, was it in Canvas, how did they go about it, and all that. So here, for most part of it, when we were doing the earth crush, we just used modeling clay of different colors of modeling clay. There's not a specific thing. The kids who had to later on label it as to what the parts were, but it was up to them. Just I had handed over the clay and the group worked together as a team, and they did that. Then the other thing is for convention and convention currents, I had used red color dye so that you can see how the red color dye swirls around and things like that. Then we had cold and hot water so that the beaker, all the conventions can be put together. We had a PowerPoint, so that the PowerPoint had all the data. The students were given the PowerPoint. They could review the PowerPoint n number of times. It's in the Canvas, and so they if they had to go back and review what they had learned or what they want to learn further, they could always do so. So that's another thing. And so that was that. And then how many amount, what kind of test did you give? You give a formative test, you give a quiz, you give do nows in the morning, and as some of them are graded. Obviously formative tests are graded and the quizzes are graded, and then the do nows are just a touch base for teachers to understand as to what or how much how much does the child know from the previous lessons that we learned. So then they asked us to talk about your school, I mean, my other school, the community, how the cultural assets build up in the school, what are the different types and interests of the students, and so forth, and so on and so forth. So again, I had to speak specifically sometimes about on these kids. That's why we have written student number 19. And this is, see, if you look here, it's student number 12. We are talking about student number 12, student number 19, but this time we are talking relatively to things happening in school. How much, what is the population, how many number of kids you have, what is the diversity, what are the other infrastructure the school has, how much, how many counselors are there, what are the cultural assets of your school, what do you do, what kind of incentives do you give in the classroom, things like that. So this was more of a general basis that we had to do. Then the differentiation that he had to show. So here, differentiate, choose one way to differentiate for each child. So here, what did you do? What kind of modeling clay? How was it different from the other kids in the classroom? Because this kid was a special kid. How do you differentiate his thing in consideration or incorporating IEP to the other things in the classroom? So how did you act on it? So same thing with the with this. And this is part 2, you're reflecting. Here it says a student who has an IEP and has had to have a test which has short answers. And so most of the time, since I've told you my class was a group of kids, I had around 32 to 35 kids in each period. And then these kids had different kinds and different variations of problems or issues, their learning disabilities. So from minor to major, there were many kids in my class. So I had IEPs to handle, and not only that, I had to chunk and give almost all the tests into a shorter form so that it would be easier for them. Sometimes I had to underline, highlight the test, highlight the sentences for them to click onto the answers there, or to say, hey, this could be the answer. So there were more modifications that were incorporated. Then sometimes the question, the multiple, it would always be a multiple choice, it could be a short answer, they could even draw or just highlight. So there were many, for the IEPs we had to lower down or shorten up the things, and then teacher has to do that, and we had to give them headsets, some had to listen in the speakers. So there were many modifications that my kids had needed. So that's one thing which it was very interesting to learn and find out during the ECU course, that you have modifications, you have to chunk things. As a teacher, you need to know about your community, you need to know about your school, you need to know how much is a population, where and other infrastructure that your school has, and things like that. So it was very interesting path of learning from ECU as to how teachers actually build and help students accelerate and get their goals done. So having said that, if this is just again a sample of my work, again, I think I scored around 92 here, but this is my sample work, and this is not here for copying or anything. It's just for you, just just when you're starting up your project for any school, and if this is the way they asked you to model, just you know this is just for you to give a heads up. I know you guys can do way better than what I did, but this is just a heads up as to how what I designed, and it's called theory based lesson template. So that's what I did. And mine was earth and environmental science, which we were given only 3 options, and then we picked from this. And then since this was already touch based in 6th grade for us, it was easier for me to just go into this and select this as a my work sample. So I did that. And this is just, you can always look into it, you can always go and refer as to where you want to start, but I know you guys can do much better than this. Okay, thank you, and let me know how it went. Bye.